Here's the thing about being right. It's supposed to feel good. You figure something out, you show the proof, people see it, things change. That's the deal, right? Except history has this really uncomfortable habit of reminding us that being right, provably, undeniably right, sometimes gets you absolutely destroyed. Today we're talking about a man who discovered one of the most important things in the history of medicine. He proved it, with data, with numbers. And what happened? His colleagues had him committed to an asylum. He died 2 weeks later, from the exact same thing he'd spent his career trying to prevent. His name was Ignaz Semmelweis. And by the end of this, you're going to be furious. Vienna, 1846. Inside the Vienna General Hospital, 2 maternity wards sat right next to each other. Same building, same equipment. One difference. In Ward 1, run by male doctors, 1 in every 6 women who walked in to give birth didn't walk out. In Ward 2, run by female midwives, the death rate was almost 0. Women knew this. Word had spread, and so women would beg, cry, get on their knees outside the hospital to be admitted to Ward 2. Some chose to give birth on the street rather than go into Ward 1. The doctors running Ward 1 knew the numbers. They looked at an 18% death rate next to a 2% death rate, separated by a single wall, and concluded, probably the air. Enter Semmelweis, 28 years old. Stubborn in the way only people deeply bothered by things that don't make sense can be stubborn. He eliminated every theory. Bad air, same ventilation. Overcrowding, same number of beds. He even had the priest change his route and skip the bell ringing. No effect. Then tragedy struck. His closest friend, a doctor named Kolechka, died after a tiny scalpel nick during an autopsy, with the exact same symptoms as the women in Ward 1. And that was the moment. Semmelweis saw it like a lock clicking open. Doctors in Ward 1 spent mornings cutting open corpses, then walked straight upstairs and delivered babies, without washing their hands. The midwives in Ward 2 never touched corpses. They brought nothing from the dead room to the delivery room. That's why their patients lived. He called it cadaverous particles. Today we call it bacteria. The solution was almost embarrassingly simple. Wash your hands with a chlorine solution before touching any patient. He made it mandatory. Every doctor, every student, no exceptions. The results were immediate. Before hand washing, 18.3% death rate. By June, 2.2%. By July, 1.2%. And then, for the first time in the entire recorded history of Ward 1, 0 deaths. 2 months in a row. The data was clean, undeniable, extraordinary. All it took was washing your hands. And you would think the response would be celebration. It was not celebration. Here is the thing about powerful people admitting they're wrong. They don't. What Semmelweis was asking these doctors to admit was that their hands, their educated, distinguished, celebrated doctor hands, had been killing women for years, possibly decades. So instead of accepting the proof, the senior doctors got offended. His own boss worked against him. Semmelweis was dismissed, blocked from teaching, pushed out of Vienna entirely. He moved back to Hungary, kept practicing hand washing. Death rate in his new ward, less than 1%. Back in Vienna without him, still 10 to 15%. In 1861, he published a book, every number, every table, every comparison, and sent copies to every major medical institution in Europe. One editor publicly said it was time to stop the nonsense about chlorine washing. The most respected pathologist in Europe personally rejected his findings at a conference of hundreds. Semmelweis started writing open letters. Furious ones, desperate ones. He wrote, "Thousands upon thousands of mothers have perished, lives that could have been saved." The medical establishment looked at those letters and thought, this man is losing his mind. By 1865, his mental health had broken down. His colleagues had him committed. When he arrived at the asylum and understood what was happening, he tried to leave. He was restrained and locked in a cell. 2 weeks later, August 13, 1865, Ignaz Semmelweis was dead. The cause of death, an infection in a wound on his right hand. The man who discovered that unwashed hands kill died from an unwashed hand. He never knew he was right. He never got the moment where the world said, "Actually, you were correct all along. We're sorry." That moment never came for him. A few years later, Pasteur confirmed germ theory. Lister built the entire field of antiseptic surgery on the exact ideas Semmelweis had proven 20 years earlier. Statues were built. A university was named after him. He was called the savior of mothers. But between the moment he proved it and the moment they accepted it, historians say tens of thousands of women walked into a hospital and didn't come home. Not because the proof wasn't there, but because the people in charge found it more comfortable to let women die than to admit they had been the ones killing them. Semmelweis didn't fail. The system chose its ego instead. I'm Fig, and we just figured it out.